Okay, welcome back to Random City Sportsballers. This is a bit of a tutorial this time. Rather than just letting you see my draft and see what I'm doing, I'm going to actually talk to you about Yahoo Fantasy Football. Okay, first and foremost, you're drafting 15 rounds. In those 15 rounds, you need to get a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, a flex position, which can be a wide receiver, a running back, or a tight end, a kicker, and a defense, although you can wait until after the draft and pick one of those up a couple of weeks later, because you're going to have 6 bench positions. And in those bench positions, you're going to want to get people who are going to make up for bye weeks for some of your players. A bye week is when a week off happens for a team. Every team gets 1 week off during the season. Each one has a different week off. For example, if you take a look at these first few, Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers are off in week 9, CeeDee Lamb week 7, Tyreek Hill week 6. Breece Hall, Jamar Chase, and Bijan Robinson are all off on week 12. So what can happen to you is, if you get a lot of players that have the same bye week, well, that 1 week you are going to suffer badly. In fact, whenever you do have a bye week, if you're losing CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill to a bye week, it's not great for your team, but it happens. It's baked in. You have to plan for it. So you need to get someone who can make up for that position during that bye week somehow. Sometimes it'll be this flex guy gets to move up into CeeDee Lamb's position, and then someone comes off the bench, a running back or tight end or another wide receiver comes into your flex position. So it's pretty easy to do, but you want to have some good players on your bench. Now, in Yahoo scoring, we have a little bit of a quarterback devaluation on their touchdowns for passing touchdowns. In Yahoo scoring, a passing touchdown is worth 4 points. Every other type of touchdown, receiving, rushing, kick return, fumble recovery, are all worth 6 points. So, if you've got a quarterback who's only going to be throwing touchdowns because he's a great pocket quarterback, I'm going to talk about Jordan Love, for example, great pocket quarterback. He throws a lot more touchdowns than he runs for. In fact, let's take a look at the quarterbacks here. Josh Allen last year, I want to see last year's stats. We'll look at last year's stats. Last year, threw 29 touchdowns, but ran 15 touchdowns. So those rushing touchdowns totaled him 90 points. These passing touchdowns totaled him 116 points. Okay? So this big difference in those points means that these touchdowns here suddenly count for a lot. And if you look, Jalen Hurts also had 15 rushing touchdowns with 23 passing touchdowns. Interceptions are negative points. They count 2 points against you in most leagues, so count on that. They're going to throw interceptions. Lamar Jackson, he gets more rushing yards, and these count for 10 points per yard. Okay, whereas throwing, you get a point for every 25 yards. Okay. Oh, we're getting an update from this fella. Okay.
Okay, so maybe you were a little bit crestfallen.
Hold on, I figured out if I
mute
mute
this,
this,
the ninth
it doesn't
pick in
have
this
the
draft.
echo,
It's
so
not
let me grab my
generally
remote
the
and
draft
hit the
slot
mute
people
button.
are hoping for. It's not quite at
Where's
the
the
turn.
mute button?
It's nowhere near the top. But I can tell you, because they give me access to the numbers,
should
that
still
you
be
can
able to
win a
hear
league
him.
from any spot. We
But
have
it's what to
millions
do
of
with the
fantasy
ninth
players
pick. This
at
is his
Yahoo,
advice, and
dozens of them won leagues from the 9th spot last year, so this is going to be fine. One legitimate piece of advice that I can give you at 9 is that you do not want to slip into the habit of drafting other people's scraps throughout this thing, okay? Realistically, you aren't going to get the top running back or receiver in this draft. Those guys are going to go before you get to make your first pick. But don't be afraid to be the first manager, to take a tight end, to take a quarterback. Listen, you got to have a clear advantage somewhere if you're going to win a competitive league. So let's not stress about picking at 9. You were made for this.
All right, I'm going to unmute this so I can hear when it's my turn to draft, because on this draft, I'm the 9th pick. Excuse me. Now, anyways, let's get back to these quarterbacks. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Guys, look at the points that Josh Allen put up last year, okay? When you take a look at that, Jalen Hurts was 40 points behind him. Lamar Jackson was 70 points behind him. Patrick Mahomes was over 100 points behind. All right? Dak Prescott actually fared better than these guys, but he's drafted way down here based on his 36 passing touchdowns. Only 2 rushing touchdowns. Jordan Love scored 330 points, so that's more than Patrick Mahomes. That's more than C.J. Stroud. That's right up there with Lamar Jackson. And Brock Purdy only had 306. Jared Goff, 301. But these are all top 10 guys last year, okay? Now, folks are counting on Jaden Daniels to get the rushing numbers that we see from, like, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. But he's unproven. He hasn't played in the NFL, so be careful trusting that as your I'm going with him guy. All right? But anyways, so at quarterback, we got to figure out a way to make up. If I took Patrick Mahomes over Josh Allen, then I need to make up 116 points somewhere else. Holy cow. And so that's why you see some guys drafting Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts rather early. And some folks are sold on the idea that Patrick Mahomes is going to put up another big year. He hasn't had a lot of big years recently, but we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to switch this back to all players. That's what we're thinking on quarterbacks. Now, on running backs, in Yahoo, okay, there goes Christian McCaffrey first overall. In Yahoo, running backs who catch the ball are going to be worth more than running backs who do not get catches. All right, so there went Tyreek Hill and Breece Hall. Anyhow, so those running backs who are going to be catching the ball, they get a half a point per reception, which is going to boost their production. But if you get someone who's just going to be a touchdown monster, well, that makes up for some of that. Okay, so there goes Jamar Chase. Now with the 9th pick, I've got to figure out what am I doing with this pick. All right, I don't know. I don't know what's gotten to me yet. So it'd be silly for me to speculate just now. But, as you know, I've been doing a lot of Derrick Henry. I've been doing some wide receivers. We're just going to see what gets to me. Now, why do I like Derrick Henry? Okay, this is important too. I like Derrick Henry because he has been one of the most consistent top producing running backs in the league for, 6 years now. He gets 1,000 yards. He's going to get more than 10 touchdowns, and he's done it every year, and he did that with Tennessee, and now he's gone to Baltimore. Baltimore really focuses on the run game. It's their strength. And so if Derrick Henry slides into that run game, there goes CeeDee Lamb and Bijan Robinson. Derrick Henry slides into that run game doing what he's done, you can expect to see just a wow season out of Derrick Henry. Now at this pick, man, I sure would like to see, I really would like to go with wide receiver running back. And I have yet to do A.J. Brown this year. Now, here's the thing. Is A.J. Brown going to go into decline this year? I don't think so. I don't think so. And if he does, it'll be just a small drop. So I do like that. Garrett Wilson, look, Garrett Wilson is a good ball player. He is Aaron Rodgers dependent. So I'm going to skip out on Garrett Wilson. I like Jahmyr Gibbs because he does catch the ball, but he's got David Montgomery taking the goal line work. Jonathan Taylor, good ball player, could be a great pick. I already have him in a league, but so I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. Cross my fingers that Derrick Henry gets back around to me. So we're hoping this guy takes like Jonathan Taylor, Puka Nacua, or something like that. And that gives me Derrick Henry. Because I think okay, he took Jonathan Taylor. And if he picks Puka, then I'm just psychic, but I don't think he will. Anyways, now he took Garrett Wilson. Now I have been taking a wide receiver and a running back with my rounds 1 and 2. Well, there's a reason. Excuse me, I got allergies and I'm sneezing. Sorry about that. There's a reason I'm taking a wide receiver and a running back in one of those two positions. You know, if I take a running back first, I'm looking at wide receiver second. But it's usually wide receiver, then running back. Because the wide receivers really fall off after about 7 or 8 wide receivers. There is a cliff. In fact, the top tier of wide receivers, we're talking about CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I put Justin Jefferson up there, even though he missed part of last season. So, I mean, he's one of the great wide receivers. We can put Jamar Chase up there. We can put Jamar Chase up there. But after those guys, there's a cliff. You just fall off a cliff. Even A.J. Brown comes in at, what is A.J. Brown's numbers for last year? 236 points, okay? Let's remember that CeeDee Lamb was up into the 330. He is 100 points more. And it's all about points in fantasy football. Wow, Josh Allen with the 19th pick. Isaiah Pacheco. Now, that's a pick that I haven't been able to get my hands on this year. Although I have a lot of faith in Isaiah Pacheco. I think he'll have a good year. Okay? I'm putting a lot of faith into him. So now that I've got a running back and a wide receiver, what am I looking at? What's next? Well, with Josh Allen gone, that means that I'm going to try to maximize this pick without it being a quarterback. Although Jalen Hurts is sitting right here, one of those top 2 quarterbacks. So what can we do? Are there running backs here that I'm interested in? Some people are interested in Josh Jacobs. We don't know how that's going to turn out. There's wide receivers like Nico Collins. There's Patrick Mahomes. People are sold on this idea, seriously, that he's going to improve his production, and I can see it. They just got him, Xavier Worthy. Pacheco is going to take another step forward. I don't think Rashee Rice is going to see much time missed. But anyhow, so I don't like the Drake London pick because he really has to move his game far forward. Look at last year, 139, right? His game has to move a long ways for him to be that worthy. Chris Olave, 211. Look at Nico Collins, 220. Okay? But, here with this third pick, I'm going to go ahead and do Jalen Hurts. Okay? And here's my reasoning. The guy after me still doesn't have a quarterback. Okay? He's got back-to-back picks. He would be taking a quarterback if he's playing the way I think he is. But I still have wide receivers here to choose from. I like the idea of Nico Collins. If we go a little further, here's Joe Mixon. I could go running back. Here's James Cook. I could go running back. It's a long time before another running back gets back to me. He took Olave and Ayuk. Now, Nico Collins, fellas, he puts up great points. He's targeted bigly, but here's the problem on Nico Collins. Tank Dell is coming back in, and Stephon Diggs has been traded to them. DJ Moore, similar situation. Excellent points last year. A little bit of a question mark this year with Keenan Allen and their young wide receiver, Rome Odunze. So, Pittman is fine, but not great. He's not on their level. But anyhow, the guys I'm looking at are right up here, these Nico Collins, DJ Moore, to get me points. And I've done Nico. I'm going to take him again here. I like Nico Collins. Did a lot for my team last year, so you stick with what you know, what works for you. And so after 4 picks, I now have top quarterback, second tier but still a top 10 wide receiver, probably a top 10 wide receiver, and a definite top 5 running back if he stays healthy. This is a well-played draft. My points need to be high, and right now, they are pretty high. Don't look at standings. Never look at standings. It's silly. Don't do it. Doesn't help you. So we look down here at what's coming around to us. Okay? And I'm going to be in need of some running backs soon. All right, running backs and wide receivers are something I still have to go grab a lot of. So I like Kamara. I like Tank Dell. I like Kenneth Walker. I like Montgomery. Depends on which of these guys get back to me. There's some here that I like as well. I don't see Mixon getting back. I don't see Rashad White or Amari Cooper or James Cook. I just don't see any of them getting back to me. It's impossible. Other things I can look at are tight end Trey McBride, maybe Mark Andrews. Later on, I can grab some other guys like this Najee Harris, Rashee Rice, Keenan Allen. But when we look at running backs and what's left here, this is why I say I need to be looking at a running back soon. Because consider these three all gone by the time it gets to me. Okay, so I've got Kamara, Walker, Montgomery, maybe Jones, although I'm not sold, Ramondre, James Conner. I'm not sold on Zamir White. I've watched him run. I don't see the talent that a lot of people think is there. And then down here, we get some of the better ones. Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, Jalen Warren, Brian Robinson in Washington. Devin Singletary is the star. Chase Brown is a potential star. Zach Moss, depends on, I think Chase Brown is going to take over that job. Austin Eckler along with Brian Robinson in Washington. It just depends on how they're going to utilize that. So, in round 5, that's why I'm looking at a running back. It gets thin quickly soon. Wide receivers, these are a lot of the same guy, okay? There's a lot of people in here who are going to get you about the same thing, and you can wait a while on them. You can take some reaches, like Jaden Reed. On every team where I have Jaden Reed, he's on my bench, waiting to be deployed. So is Calvin Ridley on my bench. You can take a chance on young Rome Odunze. You could. How about Jackson Smith and Jigba? He's going to have a better year than he had last year. Jordan Addison, questionable. I like Xavier Worthy late. McConkey, if you want to try that. But be aware. The Harbaughs, both of them are run-heavy coaches. So with the Harbaugh now in the Los Angeles Chargers head coaching position, they're going to be a heavy run team. So if you're looking at people off the Chargers, be looking at those running backs. That's where you're going to find a potential value. All right, so the running backs all disappeared like I thought. We're down to Alvin Kamara deep. And that's, that was expected, fellas. And Trey McBride just went. We knew that was going to come. I had sold in on getting Jalen Hurts. If I had gotten a different running back there, I could have waited until later and grabbed a Jordan Love, a Dak Prescott. I chose to go with Hurts in that position. So, with my next couple, I am probably taking running backs with both of them. I will not let my running back game suffer. Especially since I know that I can Ridley or Reed, get these players a few rounds later. I don't need to take them right now. Aaron Jones just left. So we're looking at probably Alvin Kamara right here. And then Kenneth Walker. I like that as a pick. So let's take Alvin Kamara. And now a lot of folks would say take Tank Dell. Well, I've got Nico Collins. Okay, and I've done this before where I have Dell and Collins on the same team. I have Dell without Collins. I have Collins without Dell. But this time, I don't have any Kenneth Walker. And, well, Kenneth Walker last year, 184. Tank Dell in the games he was healthy did very well. But did they just take Walker? You bastard. All right, well, there's David Montgomery, Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is already hurt. That's so disappointing. I'm sad for the guy. Ravens is uninjured after a car accident. He had a car accident. Oh, poor guy. Hope everything does turn out okay. I don't take T. Higgins anymore. It just doesn't work out right. I'm not sold on the T. Higgins bit. So now we're after... could it be Montgomery? Could it be Andrews? All right, well, then we're going to go ahead and do Tank Dell and have two receivers off the same team Not the best idea. It only works out once in a while, okay? If you remember Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin back in the 90s, if you had Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin on the same team, that was going to look pretty good. But my bye week positions now suffer. The week 14, I've got Henry, Collins, and Dell. So my bye week position has suffered. And now I have to go into the deeper running backs. These are not ugly running backs, okay? These are bench running backs. One of the big ones is Tony Pollard. You know, there is a good chance that he takes the role in Tennessee and just holds on to it. Chase Brown is another one who could do that same thing. Devin Singletary has the job in New York. Austin Eckler versus Brian Robinson in Washington. You know, choices have to be made. But I definitely am going to be looking at running backs in this next pick. It's a shame that I didn't get my guy back to me, but this is the nature of a fantasy draft. You have to be willing to change with the draft. There goes Stevenson. Stevenson, that could be a good pick too. So, anyhow, now the tiers on running back, it's going to depend on what your league scoring is. But in Yahoo, that half point per reception matters. All right? It matters a lot. You're going to want a guy who is going to be catching balls. You know, that's why I like Isaiah Pacheco, but I haven't had a chance to get him because he is going to be catching balls out of the backfield. There's other guys that are going to catch a lot. You know, Christian McCaffrey, for example, if he stays healthy. You know, he's got that calf strain right now. I don't know how severe that is. Well, we'll see how that plays out. There goes Jordan Love in the 7th round. So you've got to be looking for those guys who are going to catch balls. And Zamir White is just so unproven, guys. I've watched the games, and I watch games. I try to see what the player does. And I'm here to tell you, Zamir White he seems just average. He doesn't really stand out to me for his ability to run. Okay, there goes Njoku. That's someone I usually like to take pretty late for a tight end. We can't be getting that deep into tight ends, are we? Okay, we are. There's Engram, though, still. There's Ferguson still. I can take either one of those guys and be happy. So I'm going to go back to all players and still focus on this running back thing I was talking about. Stay focused on what I'm building, which right now, it looks pretty good. We're going to start filling in some bench before we fill in this tight end because I can wait on tight end for a couple more picks. So we have 3 receivers, 2 running backs. I need to get a running back here. It's just a given. And then for receivers, when we look, we still have Calvin Ridley and Jaden Reed that I can take later. So I do intend to take back-to-back running backs. Who will they be? Depends on who gets back to me. 7th round for Dak Prescott. That's a good pick. He doesn't run touchdowns, but he throws a lot. And he'll finish top 10, that's for sure. That is a guarantee. Without injury. Yeah, we got to make sure. You got to account for injuries. All right, so I've done Mostert. Let's do Najee Harris this time. We got that under our belt. And then if Mostert does get back to me, maybe I take him. I don't know. Maybe I take a reach on a wide receiver. I don't want to reach too much. Because I can get back to one of these guys. All right, someone's taking a defense here in the 8th round, and that's notable. Tight ends. This would be a good time for me to secure a good tight end, so I'm going to take Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, look at those catches last year, 114. Remember, it's a half a point per reception, so that makes him a good one. Ferguson, not quite there with the receptions, but he had good overall points. But I'm taking the guy that I know just puts up points in Jacksonville, and that's Evan Ingram. So now we wait. And here's the logic on the wait. It's scary to wait, but don't reach too quick on a guy. Fill in something else that you need. Okay? You have needs on your team. It's called your starting lineup. You should have this filled in with the exception of kicker and defense. And then you go for your bench. Now, I went for Najee Harris because I didn't think he would get back to me, and I knew Evan Ingram would. So I figured, why not just wait? Why not just wait on the Evan Ingram pick? Because, it's not that far. So now I'm completely filling in my bench unless I'm going after a defense. All right, sorry about that brief jump there. All right, so there went Mostert finally. Robinson went, Keenan Allen, but this still doesn't affect what I was planning with my Calvin Ridley, Jaden Reed. If I can secure both of them, then I've done everything I need. Christian Kirk would have been a good pick too. But I've got a ways to go before it gets back to me. And this is a spot where people are getting very, very worried about running backs, okay? Pollard, Warren, Spears, Singletary, and Brown. These are all the guys that I'm looking at. All of them. Any one of them is fitting in on this team. So I could take, for example, Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard. Jaden Reed and Jalen Warren. These are guys that I'm excited about putting on my team. And let's just see which of them get back to us here. So there goes the Jets defense, and that's what happens a lot around 8, 9, 10. A lot of defenses are starting to get picked up. And that allows you to relax a little bit. Unless there's a defense you're going, oh, I didn't get my defense. There goes Justin Tucker. That must be an auto pick. But, unless there's a defense that you're saying I have to have them, just hold out. There went Tony Pollard, so he's been going up the draft board, all right? People are picking him up earlier. I'm not sure why they were waiting so long on Tony Pollard in the early drafts, but that's what they were doing, and people were able to get him in round 10, 11. And like I said, Ferguson is another tight end that you can be happy with in this position. Sorry for that quick break. Austin Eckler goes with the 85th pick. And Chris Godwin. So, again, my players are still waiting here for me. Calvin Ridley and Jaden Reed were my original intentions with this set of picks. And I'm still going to be there. Let's look at the running backs again. We know Pollard is gone. There's Warren. Warren would be a good one to put along with my... Hold on, let's take a look at Chris's crazy team. He's filled up at running back. He got his defense, and he's on auto draft. So there's a good chance he gets his kicker next. But anyhow, I'm going to take Jalen Warren to go along with Najee Harris. Be aware, these are guys that are both on my bench. I've got the Pittsburgh running backs on my bench. So one of them will be available to me, whoever's starting. Okay, there, he took his kicker because it's an auto draft. I'm sorry about your luck. Then I have to decide, Calvin Ridley or Jaden Reed. Now, Jaden Reed is going to be on a heavier pass offense than Tennessee is going to be. I have Jaden Reed a lot, but I think that it pays off because he really emerged at the second half of last year. I mean, he really came around. He only had 64 catches, but it was 8 touchdowns with almost 800 yards in those 64 catches. And he did run the ball, 119 yards with 2 more touchdowns. He never lost a fumble. He really emerged at the second half of the year. So this is a guy that you can count on in a ways. And look, there goes Calvin Ridley right after. And what else are you going to do right here? I mean, I do like Chase Brown. And that's actually kind of nice. There's other wide receivers you can look at now here. Okay, some of these rookies, Worthy, right? How about Keon Coleman from Buffalo? You know, that's not a bad one to take a look at because Buffalo is going to pass the ball. They're not going to really do as much passing as the Green Bay Packers will or the Dallas Cowboys, but they're going to pass the ball. You know, keep in mind, though, at the goal line, are they going to trust Coleman? I don't know about that. Dontavian Wicks is a rookie in Green Bay. You know, you take a chance on some of these guys here at the end. We're at the end of the draft, fellas. This is where I'm taking chances. High reward is what I'm looking for. Low risk, high reward. When we talk about Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, that's the Pittsburgh running backs. So I've got the Pittsburgh running yards sewn up. Jaden Reed, potential high reward, very low risk. Roma Dunes is still sitting there. Someone's going to take him. I mean, he's a great wide receiver, and we'll see. But taking these risks late is very important to your chances of winning your league. Nobody won a league without taking a chance because think about last year. Some of last year's top scoring players. All right. Puka Nacua was undrafted in our fantasy drafts. How about Kyron Williams, who was undrafted in our fantasy drafts? Okay. Trey McBride, who really came on strong in the second half last year. Undrafted. He just emerged. Happens all the time that a player just pops out and goes, "Hi, I'm here. You forgot about me." Bowers. See, Las Vegas is not exactly a high-scoring offense, okay? Not a high. Trey Benson, that's a decent risk. Tyjae Spears, that's a good risk. You know, you're taking chances on these fellas that might take the job and become the guy. And there went Worthy here in the 11th round. If you want him, you really got to get him in the 10th round or earlier. Sometimes you'll go to the 11th, but not often. We got a few picks until mine. Hopefully they'll let Chase Brown get back to me. DeAndre Hopkins is really falling, but so have his numbers over the last few years, haven't they? Rashid Shaheed, Jameson Williams. He's, you know, he might be a good player to take, late round pick on. And then we're talking about Gus Edwards. How about J.K. Dobbins? And then, what's his name? Vidali? These are the guys that have a chance at taking over running in the Chargers offense. So, Jaden Daniels, counting on him to use those legs and get you those points that Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen will get you. And also, some of these bench positions you've got here, sometimes you can use them to grab a guy who you intend to use for trade bait. There, I took Chase Brown. I think he will take over in Cincinnati after 3, maybe 4 weeks. I think Zach Moss will find himself being the RB2 in that offense, and it'll only take a few weeks. Don't get me wrong, Zach Moss is fine. He's a good player. But in fact, last year, if you had him on your team, there was a good chance he was going to help you. He was going to help a lot in some cases. Jerome Ford is going to be the Cleveland running back for a few weeks. But only until Chubb comes back. So, what are we looking at? This is round 12. This is a good place for me to look and see if my defense is there. Dallas, which they are. So I'm going to take Dallas's defense. Dallas has this thing where they finish as one of the top 5 defenses almost every dang year. Now I've got 2 bench positions to fill in with 3 picks left. And people just keep letting me get Dallas. I don't know. Maybe they're seeing something I don't. I don't know. Dallas is still a good defense to me. So in wide receivers, who's a guy who could emerge? Are we talking Dobbs, Coleman, Khalil Shakir in Buffalo, Dontavian Wicks as a rookie? Probably not. What about? Let's take. I'm going to keep looking here, fellas. Quentin Johnson, maybe, probably not. Well, what happens if Ayuk goes to the Jets? Or wait, not the Jets, Pittsburgh, excuse me. What happens if Ayuk goes to Pittsburgh? And, okay, Carolina is a low-scoring offense. If you're looking for someone there, understand they are a low-scoring offense. And it's just hard to know who's that going to be, the Puka Nacua from last year. Who's that going to be? It happens every year. You're more likely to grab them after week 1 on waivers. So I need you all watching the week 1 games. Get the idea of what's happening out there. Who just had a, wow, where'd this guy come from? And grab that person. Because these last spots, I mean, how much in love with some of these final picks are you going to be? Don't be biased by your own picks. You know, just because you drafted him doesn't mean he's the one that's going to change everything. Somebody who's down here on my bench, these last 2 bench positions, they're really going to have a hard time cracking this starting lineup. I mean, that's going to be difficult to ask for. There went Keon Coleman. So there's another one that I won't be getting. That's fine. I don't know. What's still available at running back? Let's take a look. Maybe I'll load up on some... Oh, well, there went Gus Edwards. What's wrong with Rico Dowdle and Jerome Ford? Blake Corum, if you're worried about an injury to Kyron Williams. Charbonnet, for the same reason with Kenneth Walker. Ty Chandler. Now, that's an interesting one. I haven't done any of Ty Chandler. That's an interesting one. Ty Chandler plays in Minnesota, where Aaron Jones just went to because Green Bay found him to be inefficient and he got injured a few times. There goes Blake Corum. So if you're looking at Ty Chandler, Khalil Herbert's another one. Khalil Herbert is a fine running back, fellas. It's fine. But he's got DeAndre Swift to deal with right now. So there's Ty Chandler. I'm not taking Chuba Hubbard. I would take, Brooks, the rookie over him. There's J.K. Dobbins. There's not much reason to go too awful deep here. I mean, but we'll take a chance on Ty Chandler taking over. Aaron Jones does have that history of getting hurt. Then on the way back around, I'm a little lacking at wide receiver, so is there one that I should be interested in? Jordan Addison, maybe. See, he did great in the absence of Justin Jefferson. What does that mean for him, though? Sam Darnold, I think, is going to be throwing the ball. There's Jameson Williams. Will he emerge? There's Romeo Dobbs, who, could have a fine year. I don't know. Khalil Shakir in Buffalo. We don't know. Dontavian Wicks, the rookie in Green Bay. Don't know. How about Dotson? We don't know. We just... Look, we're not psychics here. So you got to go with your gut. And my gut is telling me not to take these guys, but to take Romeo Dobbs instead. But then, does he emerge finally? Is there a running back I'd rather have? I'd rather have Jerome Ford, so we take Jerome Ford. Oh, there's a maximum number of running backs. Did you know that? So that's fun. We'll take Jameson Williams. Of those guys, I think he has the best chance of going somewhere. Detroit is a good offense. I ran out of running backs. I can't draft any more running backs. Well, that's messed up. Maximum of 6. Let me draft 7. Let me draft 8. Okay, so there, Kamara, Henry, Harris, Warren, Brown, Chandler, I'm pretty happy with my running backs. But you max out at 6. All right. Whatever you say, Yahoo. I didn't know there was a maximum on that. I imagine that's a maximum of 6 wide receivers then, too. So, I have some guys that I'm ready to use as trade bait. Let's watch them emerge. Let's see what they do. All right, this draft is almost over. We got 1 round left. Who could be that wide receiver? Who could it be? Polk? Could it be Polk? This is a chance, you know. I do like Polk from his days in college. So, yeah, that's a good one to take a chance on. Let's take a chance on Polk. Rookie wide receiver coming in with a rookie quarterback into a system that desperately needed an infusion of talent. He was their 2nd round pick. He was made to go along with the quarterback. They drafted him for that reason. Because you take a 1st round quarterback who doesn't really have much talent in the wide receiver room, you grab him somebody. It's either that or I can take a kicker. I mean, Demario Douglas, though, yeah. He caught a couple of, well, he got 1 of 2 targets. Nice. What did Polk do? He caught 2 of 3 targets. Nothing real spectacular, you know, so to me it's kind of the same thing. So, yeah, you use these to take your chances, fellas. Take those chances on these potential breakout candidates. At worst, Polk becomes the guy that I drop in week 3 after he doesn't do anything and someone else is like emerging. Just play it smart. Overall, you're trying to build the team you think will win. You can do all the research in the world and an injury comes up. You can do 0 research and get lucky. Oh, and I hate to tell everyone this. Let this secret out. Fantasy sports include luck. Anyone who's won a championship has gotten a little bit lucky. So let luck be on your side. Give yourself a chance. And hey, remember, I've got a league that I've created for anyone who wants to try to put up against the Random City Sportsballers. Do you think you can come in and win that championship? It's free to enter. It's a Yahoo standard league with a 0.5 point per reception. So, come on, join for free. And we draft Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll put a link in the description of the video. But yeah, with this final one, I'm going to take Jalen, I don't know how you pronounce that. Jalen, I don't know, and I'm sorry, I'm not great with names. I think I've mentioned that during baseball 1,000 times. I am not great at pronouncing names. If you know how it's pronounced, please let me know. I don't like to disrespect people by saying their name incorrectly. I would never do it on purpose. I just don't know. And we take the chance on the rookie wide receiver. There we go. That's another team for the Random City Sportsballers. We're going to take a quick look at our team and see whether or not we're in love with this team. Jalen Hurts at quarterback. A.J. Brown, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell at wide receiver with Jaden Reed to back that up. Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren as my first 4 running backs. Then we've got Chase Brown, Ty Chandler, Jamison Williams, Polk. I'm just going to say Polk because I don't know how to pronounce his first name. And I'm sorry to you, Mr. Polk. I'm sorry. I didn't take a kicker so that I could take this chance. And the Dallas defense, who last year I think was ranked #1 defense. Yeah, 178 points last year. Come on, fellas, that was a great year for them. So overall, I like this draft. I'm not going to look at standings because that's silly. But, yeah, thanks for tuning in, fellas. Remember, we got that draft coming up on Monday. I want you to sign up. I want you to come out there and show us your skills.